Welcome to the True Talk Podcast. Here's your host, Jenna.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the True Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Jenna. If you haven't already, make sure you go hit that like, follow, subscribe button so you never miss out on what's coming next with True Talk. I am going to tell you that this is the last episode of season 1 of True Talk. Started this back in February 12th. So it's been an insane ride. I'm so grateful for all of you. But definitely make sure you're following and subscribe to hear more of what's going to come in season 2. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you all Philip. Philip is actually one of my past guests, Theoni, aka Not Your Daddy's Lender. This is her husband. So it's so cool for me to be able to talk to the power couple. It's insane. It's a full circle moment. Theoni was one of the first guests. She, I think, was like second or third guest that I had on the show. And now Philip's the last one in season 1. It's so cool. But we're going to get into talking all things entrepreneurship, how he balances everything with being a father of now 2. Well, no, because Kostas is 3, right?
He's like 2.5.
Okay, so kind of like 2 under 2.
Yeah, pretty close.
But we're going to get into talking about entrepreneurship, what drives him, how he got here, and all that good stuff. So stay tuned. All right, Philip, tell us about you. I know from your social media, we've never really spoken, but you have your social media, your videography and digital marketing that you do, but I feel like you do more. What else do you do?
Yeah, so I do a lot of things, and I still don't think I am busy enough. I always want to do something else and want to try something new. But back, I guess now, 6 years ago, I wanted an excuse to buy an expensive drone. And
Okay.
I was not a person that could wake up early. So my thing was, I'm going to buy this expensive drone and I'm going to go out and I'm going to fly it at sunrise and just take sunrise shots of the beach. I lived here at the beach and I got my first drone in the middle of winter. So it was like January. It was freezing outside. I didn't know that drones' batteries don't work as well when it's that cold outside. So I was learning all these new things and taking all these awesome shots and getting attention with it, and just kind of started a brand that wasn't even connected to my name. So I just called it Rehoboth Beach Drone and just started taking pictures of the beach and posting it. And I just wanted to see what would come from it. Honestly, I didn't really expect too much because at first I thought of it like a business and I was like, hey, what are all the cool things you could do with a drone? So I made this whole list of all this really awesome stuff that could really help businesses and people all around. But honestly, the only thing that people were really interested in was sunrises, sunsets, and real estate. So that's what I ended up really pushing towards, and just kind of grew my following on social media. And people just started reaching out saying, hey, what are you doing with these drone photos? What else do you do? We want to try you out, all this stuff. So then that's how it grew into the whole full service marketing agency, because I was hiring out photographers, videographers, and I was just not getting as good results. And it was trying to coordinate all these other freelancers that weren't very organized themselves, but wanted top dollar. So I was like, hey, I really can't afford to be doing all the work and hiring people. So I actually had an old Nikon camera sitting around, and I was like, let's figure out if I can take some pictures too, and just started taking some pictures. And then that's when the real estate really blew up, because I was able to do the drone, which no one down here really had a pilot's license yet to be able to legally do commercial stuff. So I had the in with the drone, and then I was like, hey, I also do the pictures too. So then I just started doing the whole full service real estate marketing for lots of listings. And then that's when I started just doing videos by myself. Just while the drone was up, I was like, I'm going to take some videos just for my own social media. And
Yeah.
I never knew that that would be the most profitable thing I ever really started, because no one was doing video at the time. I was just trying to convince people that video is going to be the thing that everyone needs. It's what every brand is going to wish they had 4 years ago,
Yeah.
5 years ago. And to this day, it's still hard to show people the value of it. But the people that know now, they really understand the value of it. So I don't
Right.
know, some people, it takes 5 years for them to see someone else getting success from it, or whatever really changes it for them to finally understand it and want to try it themselves. But now 6 years later, it's so much easier to show people the value of it, because I have the results of other people and I can just show the work that I do. And
Yeah.
everyone's like, it got shared this many
It
times. And
speaks for itself, right? Like,
exactly.
yeah.
So I
Jeez.
probably just like went off into a whole other, just kept
No.
going, but that's how it really started. It was just my excuse to get up early in the mornings.
Okay. So for those who don't know, Rehoboth, would you say it's big? I mean,
It,
it's
it's
not
tiny.
big.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So like,
extremely small.
for you to make a name for yourself and build your reputation to be able to get referrals and stuff like that, I mean, that's half the battle. But like, that's awesome that you were able to do that in that town, to be known as like, all right, call this guy for videography, you know?
Yeah, and I grew up with family businesses, so I did understand like that side of it. And but the only thing that I figured out was the social media part of it. And that was like doing all the talking that my family had to do for 10, 20 years of running the business. I was able to jumpstart that and get all these people already knocking on my door within months. And
Right.
just growing that following of, it might not sound like a lot, but that first like 2,000 followers that I did just posting sunrises and sunsets, I didn't think it was a big deal, but in reality, it was, because we have family businesses around here that have been around for 20, 30 years, and they don't have that type of following. So
Right.
I might have not had the years of experience and all that stuff, but I already had this jump start on something that they probably haven't even thought about. And
Right.
that's when I really started thinking of it as a business, because I started using everything I was learning with marketing for all of our other businesses as well. So
Yeah.
I just figured out that marketing is what every business really needs.
Yeah.
It's how they do it might not be the right way, whatever it may be, but every business needs marketing in some way, whether they think so or not, whether they're just started or they have been a business for 40, 50 years.
Well, especially, yeah, exactly. Like, especially in this generation right now, like, I mean, many of you know that I have my own marketing and photography business, and I say it to people all the time. I'm like, if you have a business now in this generation, this day and age, and you are not on social media, you are doing yourself a disservice. Like, social
Yeah,
media has become Google. It's become
yeah,
the biggest search engine. So it's like, it's not going to work if your ads in the magazine or in the newspaper. Nobody reads them anymore.
exactly. And it's not just a disservice to them and their brand, it's a disservice to their clients too, and their potential
Yeah.
clients and potential customers, because when someone does social media correctly or marketing correctly, you're not just asking for business, you're teaching people about what you do, why you're the expert, and why they should think of you for whatever you're talking about. So
Right.
you're educating the clients, the potential clients and the masses just about your service. Someone might not be even interested in what you're doing, but you're giving them knowledge that when they do finally need that type of service, they're going to say, hey, I remember this company said to watch out for companies that do
Yeah.
this or don't mention this part of the process or whatever it may be. And it can
Yes,
save them time, money, whatever in the future just by putting it out there.
exactly.
So it's not even competition at this point, because if everyone's doing social media correctly, then everyone is just more educated, and a more educated
Right.
buyer is good for all businesses, except for the ones
Right.
that are trying to scam you anyways, which don't want to
Right.
educate their people. But
Yes.
it's good for everything. It's good for everyone, and even if it might be more expensive, it's cheaper than doing it 10 times.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. So, how many businesses do you own?
So just myself, I have the media company, which I
Yep.
now split off into the media and marketing now, but they're still kind of like brother and sister. And then I also bought a detailing shop back in
Oh, that's yours?
2020. So that's also mine. And that's a
Nice.
crazy story on that one too, but I actually bought that one off seeing a listing on Craigslist for this business, and it seemed way too good to be true. It was right before COVID, right in, I think it was the very beginning of 2020. So
So wait, they were selling the LLC, they were selling the title and all of it?
so he was renting the spot, but he was selling all of his equipment, the client list, and the garage he had at the time. And for the price, I knew something was up. So we already have our own corporation set up. So I was like, hey, you keep your LLC. I'm not worried about what you may owe, what partners you may have. So that's all
Right.
you. So as soon
Right.
as I got it, I changed the name and I ran the first month of business in his location before learning about everything he was doing wrong and right, and ended up having to move out of that shop because he never secured me the lease or anything. So I had to pay a bunch of
Wow.
movers to come in and move all of this equipment that I paid for into a storage unit. And then the good clients that I was able to pull from his list, they helped me grow the entire business I have today. So
Wow.
we just used that client list, and I did what we knew best, which was social media. So we just started posting all the work that we were doing on social media and just grew it straight from there. So today now I have one head detailer. He's Ray. If you guys want to follow him, he's the detailer Ray. He's the man. He helps me run that business that I have today, and I wouldn't be able to do it without him. And uh,
So,
everything I learned, I taught him. Everything he knew, and now we put it together. And we have a shop out in Seaford where I have a tint guy in there. So I have like almost 3,000 square feet there. I call it like my little like man cave, and I keep my extra. I keep my jet skis there in the winter. I keep my extra. I have an old
nice.
truck that I bought that I plan on restoring. So I keep that there, and then we have a tint guy that works out of there, and we do some commercial work on vehicles as well in there. And then we do a lot of mobile
Wow.
stuff.
So, oh, I I'm like you, I have multiple things going on at once, right? Like I have the marketing and photography, I've got the podcast, I'm a personal trainer, like I've got all these different moving parts. How do you keep it all straight?
Every business that I choose to be a part of is stuff I already would spend money on if I didn't own that business. So
Yes.
the reason why I even thought about the detailing company is I actually told myself back when I was still in college at UD, University of Delaware, I actually paid to have I had a black Mercedes at the time, and it had all these swirl marks all over it. So I paid this guy I don't remember what it was, like $2,000. He came to our driveway, spent the whole day there. And then I like washed the car once and everything that he did just came right off because he didn't correct anything. All he did was put a ton of wax on my car. So then at that point I was like, this guy got me good, but now I know that people are willing to spend money on a service like that. And if I do it the right way, then it'll be easy to keep that business going.
It's a return customer base like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I can do it cheaper than that. I can run the business better. So it just so happened that a detail shop popped up in the like 2-3 years later and just happened to
not fate. That's not fate, like completely. So with the marketing, like I said, as a photographer, I know how long that editing process can take. How do you make time for the intricate edits that you do?
So as far as the real estate editing, that was the first thing that I had to learn how to outsource because I spent way too many nights staying up till 2-3 in the morning doing all these edits, and they of course came out awesome, but even me looking at them the next day after getting whatever 6 hours of sleep because I still wanted to get up and do more stuff, I could actually see myself that once I spent that 2-3 hours editing, the quality of my work, my eyes were not working the same way they were at the beginning of those edits. And after working the whole day in the field taking those pictures and videos, I couldn't sit there and edit all those photos. So I did make myself learn how to do it myself before I started asking other people to do it for me. So that I knew what they were doing wrong or what step they were skipping, whatever it may be. And as soon as I learned how to outsource that editing the right way, it completely changed the business because I got those 2-3 hours back. So when I did get those 2-3 hours back, it's not like I just fell asleep. Of course, I was working on something else. So that's when I was learning new things and adding new features to my marketing stack that we provide to people so that it wasn't just the editing. Then I could have more time to learn how to edit videos. And then from there, that grew into me running out of time to edit the videos. So then I outsourced that as well. But if I didn't learn how to do it myself, the quality wouldn't be there because it's not just like taking the videos and throwing it at someone. I still create almost like a whole storyboard for the way that I want that video to go. And then I trust someone that knows how to put that footage together for me the way I would do it. And at this point, my editors do a better job than I would because they do them every day. And I could see it to the point, if I wanted to do it myself, I could, but would it be worth me spending 4 hours on it, relearning how to do some of these new 3D transitions and all this stuff? Like, man, I wouldn't have time for my other things. So I trust my editors to do that part of the job. And so I can keep growing the business and keep learning new things and keep scaling and providing value to my clients in a different way. Because if I can have someone else do the same exact job I was doing, even if it's sometimes a little bit worse, sometimes a little bit better, it's still 100% better than me doing it myself.
Yeah. So that it all makes sense to me. I don't know if it'll make sense to anyone else, but whoever else is a business owner that's listening, you get it. Like, one of the main things that they tell you is you need to learn to let go, because there is a point to where we as business owners can kind of like get territorial and like controlling, because that's our baby. We're like, no, like, I want it done this way, or, I don't know how to explain, but we can be territorial. And so one of the things is that what you need to learn in order to grow is to be able to outsource and delegate tasks. So that's all great points that you made.
Yeah, and I learned that the hard way because I grew up with family businesses that my mom and dad were always preaching, no one can do it like us. No
Yeah.
one, everyone we hire is just going to ruin our business. It's going to ruin everything we've ever done. But now when I think of it, it's maybe they just didn't have the time to actually sit down and train these people correctly
Right.
because even
Right.
now, and I'm not trying to talk crap, but they built an insane business. They made awesome money. They provided everything that me and my brother could have possibly needed in our life. But now looking back at it, and now my dad passed away right my first year of college. So that's
So
when I really had
sorry.
to jump in and start really helping the family businesses. But and that's where I really learned like how I could help because my mom was trying to run these businesses by herself. So I
Right.
wanted to use marketing and use everything that I could possibly learn by running my own business to help. And
Yeah.
to this day, it took a long time to convince my mom that help can actually help.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now, now she's the one that preaches to everyone. She's like, "Oh my God, I didn't have to go to work at 9:30. I had my helper come in. I was able to go and get a facial. I was able to go on a walk. I was able to go home early and take a nap. I haven't done that in 10 years." So now
Aw.
she's like so excited about this,
Aw.
and she would have never done it if I was just pestering her about it. And she
Yeah.
probably got a little bit jealous when she was like, "Hey, like, what is he doing on the jet skis, still making money, and I'm over
Right.
here sitting at work when anyone could be sitting here?" So now
Exactly.
she does now she it took a long time, but she gets it, and
Yeah.
it it it's amazing to see and hear her talk about it because she was the one that was like, no one can do it like us. No one,
Yeah.
like, if it's not family running it, you're just wasting it. So
Yeah.
it's like it was always me, my brother, my mom, my dad. It was
What's
always
your
one of us doing it.
what's your background? What's your ethnicity?
My mom is 100% Russian and my dad was American, but he was working in Russia at the time. That's where he met my mom.
Ah, okay. I'm Greek, so they've got the similar like mindset, like if you want it done right, you gotta do it yourself type of deal. And
Yeah.
you gotta get out of that and be able to trust somebody that you're gonna train. Um,
Yeah.
but speaking of that, like family dynamic, with you and Theoni both being incredible, um, incredibly hard workers, how has that, like that in the relationship dynamic, how has that been able to help and like boost you to be better and maybe boost her? Like, do you guys have that sort of work relationship dynamic?
Yeah, we've like always, like ever since I honestly first met her and she was doing mortgages, that was when I first started doing the drone stuff. So we at just from the get-go, we were already like combining our businesses. So like
That's
she was
awesome.
offering my drone services to the people that she was hoping, the agents she was hoping to get their mortgages from their
Yeah.
clients as well. So it was like a piggybacking off of each other. And it, once we both got really busy, that's when it got harder. And I was never the planning type of person. So like it honestly wasn't until we had our first kid until I was like, all right, I we have to have a family calendar. Then everything really just started getting way more organized. And honestly, I tell people this to this day, and they probably think I'm the biggest liar on earth, but I got more time in my day once I had a kid. And because it
Really?
taught me so much about how much my time is worth and how to prioritize certain things to the point that I still say that I have more time now. And even with a second kid, I still have time. I still have free time, which like I can't imagine anyone that has any sort of 9 to 5, and then there's no such thing as only having a 9 to 5. Everyone's still hustling, doing something else after it, before it, whatever it may be. Then you have no
Yeah.
time left if you're really
Yeah.
trying to do that. And when I first started my business, I still had a job with an oral surgeon because I got a chemistry degree and my goal was to go to dental school. And I
Oh,
just
okay.
figured out that I could have way more freedom by doing my own thing.
Yeah.
And if you asked anyone that grew up with me, I was never that like creative person. So like me doing like photography, videography was like I hid it for the longest time. I didn't show anyone what I was doing. I grew that business in the dark because I was kind of embarrassed. I didn't know if it would work. I don't even think I thought it was cool at the beginning because I was just
Right.
like, hey, like let's just see what works. I had no clue.
Yeah.
And so once I really grew into it, and I probably didn't start posting like my own business stuff personally on my own pages until the past like year, maybe year and a half
Mm-hmm.
max, because I didn't I didn't think I needed to. I was like, hey, my businesses are doing good enough with me never reaching out to any of my connections that
Yeah.
I could possibly have. And everyone always says like it's all about connections, and it's true. It is.
It's all
But
about who you
they don't,
know.
yeah,
It's all
but it
about
doesn't
who
have to
you
be
know, not
previous
what you
connections.
know. Yeah. Yeah.
You can make new connections.
Yeah.
And then it's almost better for me now because now when I'm posting it now, I am getting those other connections. Like people like, why didn't you tell me you were doing marketing for the past 6 years? I definitely would have used you. And I was like, I was just doing my own thing. I was just trying to figure it out. And now that you waited, I can probably provide you a better service now, to be honest.
Yeah, true. Like now I know now what I didn't then however that
Exactly.
however that saying goes, it's gonna hurt my head to even think. Um, so looking back, you would you do anything differently or would you still go this entrepreneurial route?
100%. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, for a while I was saying like, maybe I'll go to dental school later. And then I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that time. I mean, like it honestly turns into like, it might sound bad, but it turns into like a religion at that point. Like you wake up, you have to only think about dental school. You go to class, and then afterward, that's all you do after. You also go back to reading, studying, all that stuff. You don't have time for anything else. I mean, like
Yeah.
even relationships are probably hard. Like
Yeah.
you honestly, it's probably even more work to keep the relationships strong while doing all that stuff. So like
Right.
I didn't see where I was in my life that I I would get much out of it. And I would still love to help people with that in the future, but I don't think it was the business that I always said. I always said I was going to be a businessman, but I don't think that dental was the business. I'd love to
Yeah.
do it for free if I didn't need money, but
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's definitely that aspect and that mindset of like there's certain people for certain occupations. And when it comes to being a business owner and being an entrepreneur, that takes a special type of person. That takes a drive to be able to dream big, like all that kind of stuff, and to be able to have um just that that belief in yourself. That's one of the hardest things is we're our own biggest critics, right? So like you were saying with the projects that you were doing and your videos and your photos and stuff, you didn't want to show it to anybody because you were like, I don't know, like second guessing yourself because we are our
yeah,
own worst critics, like our own hardest critics. So that can hold you back, but like you have to have that unwavering belief in yourself to be able to keep growing and keep pushing forward.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably one of the hardest things. And in that time when I've been growing these businesses, I started reading so many books and like not even reading audiobooks and podcasts because that's what I was always in the car for some reason. So I learned everything from audiobooks and podcasts, like everything, the way pretty much the way I run my businesses. It's all based off a lot of stuff that I learned in these books. And still to this day, I still think one of the best books that helped me grow as a business owner, person, entrepreneur, everything is The Courage to Be Disliked. And that's the book that I've given to so many people because that book will make you so mad and teach you so much at the same time because it's so true. And I tell everyone like, hey, like it's gonna be so hard getting through the beginning of this book because you're just gonna get mad at it and say that it's fake and not real or not true, not anything like that. And I'm not even gonna try to talk about the book because I'll butcher it, but everyone should read that book at some point in their life, listen to it, whatever it may be, because I probably have listened slash read that book 4 or 5 times at this point, if not
Really?
more.
I'll
And every
definitely
time I
have
read it,
to
I
check
learn
it
something
out.
new.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out. And it's funny you say it, like you already knew the question I was going to ask. I was going to ask you what's been your biggest resource in being able to teach yourself everything, because I've gone down that rabbit hole of like, YouTube, audiobooks, podcasts, regular books, master classes, like you name it. And you have to be able to teach yourself and then feel confident in offering your services, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've spent so much money on these books and courses and masterminds, and I'm still in these groups that like I'm paying what some people pay for rent. I pay just to be a part of a group. Every single
Yeah.
month I pay that. It's more than the rent I pay for my detailing shop in Seaford. I mean, I do it because I want to learn. I want to provide the best service I can to my clients. And if my clients wanted to pay for all the courses and classes that I've paid for to learn what I know today, then they can. I mean, it would probably
Yeah.
be a couple $100,000 at this point, but they can learn it all the same way. It's all up to them.
Right.
Like we all have 24 hours in a day. We all can learn it if we want to. But if you're good at something else and you don't have time and you're already doing well, you don't have time to
Yeah.
learn something new, then you should probably work with someone that has spent the time spent and actually invested into themselves and their brand to be able to learn this stuff. Because
Yeah.
there's
Exactly.
everyone always says there's all this free stuff online. There's all this that you can learn, and that's true. But what you're paying for when you pay for these masterminds and classes, it's all put together for you. Yes, you
Mm-hmm.
could find the YouTube video that teaches you this and this and this and this and this, but it's not all going to be from the same person. They're all going to be
Right.
from someone else, and you still have to watch them in the right order or you're going to do something wrong. So
Right.
what you're paying for is it, it's what worked for someone else. Will that
Yeah.
100% work for you? No. But if you take a piece of what worked for all these people, there's no
Right.
way you could fail. Like it's
Yes.
like you got all these winning formulas, like just put some of them together and you'll win something, I swear.
Yeah. Exactly. Uh, great point. So I want to go back real quick to what you said about the calendar, and I think Theoni and I talked about this too. What, how do you how do you schedule it out, like to be able to be at the detail shop, make sure you're spending time on the marketing, and then spending time with the kids and
So,
time for yourself on top of that, like
yeah, well, luckily, a lot of what I do, I get to stay home for. And if I do have to leave the house, it's for like short bursts. So, like, luckily, I don't have to do any 8-hour video shoots. If I go somewhere, honestly usually spend more time in the car than I do at the shoot most of the time.
Yeah.
And I'm completely fine with that. But it's not an 8 hour thing. I could be out for 2 hours, and that could be the only time I have to go out for the next 2, 3 days. So it's like that's not the problem, but just me teaching myself like, hey, if I do have to be out of the house for something, it has to go on the calendar. And
Mm.
it just has to go there. So it pops up on Theoni's phone and
Yeah.
she's like, okay, I can't book anything here.
Right.
And it it was hard for a while because we would double book things, but just so we put our family stuff in first, whether it's like an appointment for one of the kids or something for Theoni while she was pregnant. If that was in the calendar, I knew not to book anything else on that day. And
Right.
that's all I needed. And I never had that before. So like it would be like the day before she was like, do you remember how we have to be here tomorrow? And I'm like, oh, I already booked
Shit.
something there. And they're like, I don't have stuff like I'm not like crazy packed schedule but like it just was bad luck, honestly, because we
Yeah.
didn't communicate about it. So just communicating about what the schedule is, what is potentially on the schedule. Like, hey, like I want to make some calls tomorrow. I want to call all my clients and just check in with them type of thing. And then she's like, okay, I'll make sure that you can get some time to do that, whatever it may be. So, and it was just once you communicate, it makes it so much easier. And then the calendar was just like for those occurrences where like we just didn't talk about something. So like if I'm
Right.
on the phone with someone, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna put this in the calendar real quick. And then usually when I'm done on the call, Theoni already saw it pop up on her phone. She's like, hey, I saw that you're gonna be at so and so's place at 9 a.m. on Friday. And it's like, okay, cool, perfect.
That's so cool that you guys, like, you really are a team. Like
Yeah.
people say in a relationship and in a marriage, you have to be a team, but they don't always follow through with that. But like to see that you guys are communicating so well, that's amazing.
Yeah, it wasn't always like that. We definitely went through
I'm
our
sure. I'm sure.
hard
It's never,
times.
yes, it's never always rainbows and unicorns. Like
Yes.
there's challenges, of course, of course. Um, so how important is it to you to show your kids what it's like to be an entrepreneur and work hard for what you're building up as a reputation, as a brand?
So I grew up always being with my parents in our store. So we had like a shipping store that was almost like a UPS store, and we still have it to this day. So like packing, shipping, copy, faxing, blueprints, all that stuff. That's actually where I learned everything about computers because we always had a couple computer rentals there. So me and my brother would sit on those computers and learn everything there. And I learned how to build my first website at whatever 5, 6 years old. Like we had employees from we had an internet cafe at one point too. So we had employees there, and I
Hold
had
on a
one of them like,
second. Hold on a second. 6 years old, you're like playing with how to build a website. Meanwhile, the rest of us are sitting there playing Oregon Trail on the computers in the classroom on those old school Macs. Like, what?
yeah, and I don't know why, but we of course played games too, and we had like all these employees teach us all these games on computer that we were way too young to play. But I still to this day remember one of the employees teaching us how to like hack people's passwords on this
Oh,
online game. So he was like, and this guy was like, he was in high school, and me and my brother were like 8, maybe 9 years old. And he was like, hey, like, kids usually make their passwords like way too easy. Like, just start typing in like their name and number one and just see if you get in and just send yourself all their stuff. So like we learned how to like, do that way too early. Like so like we knew the value of like having a good password. We're like, man, it's so easy to hack someone's thing. So like, of course, me and my
Yeah.
brother never were the people with the easy password.
Right.
But just little things like that we learned how to do so early and just made me like love computers. That like me and my brother at one point like tried to learn how to be hackers. We learned how to like hack into people's Wi-Fi, network passwords, everything, and it was always because people don't change the default password. If you
Yeah.
don't change the
Yeah.
default password, I don't even consider it hacking. It's like, hey,
There you go.
we typed in the default password and it worked. So we used to do funny things like I lived in a resort town where no one lived there full time. So we would have like we could pick up everyone's Wi-Fi from our house. So like we would go in and like change their Wi-Fi names and then they'd come back to their house and they'd have a whole different Wi-Fi name, network name. So that was like what we did for fun, honestly. It was always something with computers and I learned everything about entrepreneurship just by being around my parents who worked on computers. We're always talking to people. We're always selling something, not in a salesy way, just talking to people, networking, everything. And I plan on doing the same thing with my kids. And just once they get older, they're just gonna always be coming around with us, seeing mom and dad, whether it's talking to people, working, talking on the phone, even while driving, whatever it may be, like
Yeah.
on stuff like this once they get old enough to understand, like, hey, mom and dad are on a podcast. But it's
Yeah.
something cool for them to see, and it's what we do. So I plan on them being involved the whole way through and just seeing what we're doing, and of course, helping as soon as they can.
Yeah, right. Y'all better get your stuff together. You gotta pull your own weight in this house.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I grew up doing that. It's like we're so used to
Yeah.
it. Like I didn't consider it work. Like I didn't get no allowance. Like I we were pretty much we were given whatever we needed and plus more, but I never had like spending money. I had everything I needed, but I never had spending. I didn't get allowance like some kids. I went to a private school and everyone's like,
Oh,
"Oh, we got this. We got this." I'm like I might have like the brand new game, the game console, all this stuff, but like it was never like me having cash to be able to go get it type of thing.
right.
So like
Right.
I was always trying to make money even on the side. So I'd be like working with my parents all day and then it was still like after work trying to make money in another place. Like we
Yeah.
live so close to the boardwalk and the beach that we'd go down there every single night almost during summer. And my dad, remember, would give us $1 every night because he was like, the other kids, when they go to the boardwalk, they go like once a month. So of course their parents give them 20 bucks, 40 bucks, whatever it may
Right.
be. Like you're going every day. Like we can't give you 10 bucks every
Yeah.
single day.
It makes sense. I mean, you gotta think about it logically.
We used to come home, or me, my brother wasn't never, he didn't care about, didn't think money was as cool as me, but I remember coming home with more money.
No way.
We would go to the arcade all night and I'd come home with more money. I had a Russian grandma that would like check all the slots. She would give us all the quarters. My brother, of course, would spend them. I would hold on to them. And
Oh
then I remember me
my
and my
God.
brother would get so good at some of the games that like people would end up like paying for us to play.
No.
Like
Oh.
we got really good at like one dance game. I forgot what it was called, like Dance Revolution, whatever it may be. And people would just like crowd up and watch us play the game, and then would just put money in for us to keep playing.
What? That's so funny. That's an awesome childhood memory, though. I love that. That's so cool.
And then my
Um,
grandma would run away, and then we'd have to
well,
go find her.
then you gotta go find Granny because she's on the move. She's like, I'm out. I can make money elsewhere. That is so, so cool. Philip, I mean, you and Theoni are power couple, like I said. Um, I just love following you guys. I love seeing all the different stuff that you're doing and all of the creativity that you include in your videos. Guys, I'm gonna be putting all of Philip's Instagram and socials and all of that in the description. So make sure you go check it out and follow him. But Philip, I have one last question to introduce, well, to induct you into the True Crew officially. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Oh, I should have thought about this one. But I'm going to say easy. It's going to
Easy.
be
Oh,
flying.
that's mine.
It's
I
going to
don't
be
think,
flying.
yeah. But why? Why flying?
And the reason why would be, honestly, because that was a big reason why I fell in love with drones too, because it really felt like flying. And when
Really?
the screen quality got so good that I was like in 4K, just like watching this drone go to places that my eyes could never go, I was like, this is the closest thing to flying. And I can honestly say I haven't played video games since I started flying drones because it's way better. It's
That is so
the real
cool.
thing.
That is
It's
so,
the
so cool. I love that. Well, Philip, thank you so, so much for being the season finale for the True Talk podcast. I'm so happy we got to talk. And like I said, guys, I will have all of his socials and information in the description below.
and
And
thanks for having me. And maybe we can get me and Theoni on here next time, so she
yes,
can make fun of me while we're both on here together.
I love it. Guys, look out for that in season 2 because it's definitely happening. All right, guys, tune in for season 2 coming soon. All right.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening to the True Talk podcast. Make sure to follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and stay tuned for more to come.